Hey everybody, it's Brandy and you're watching Abstract Crafter. Today's video is part 2 in the why I left the diamond painting community. And we're kind of going to get into a few things that I glossed over a little bit in the second half of the first one, part 1. So if you are curious what more I have to add to that saga that was a movie, then just keep on watching and we'll get into it as soon as I roll those intro credits. Hello friends, welcome back. So today's video, as I said in the intro, is going to be the part 2, kind of continuation of why I left the diamond painting community. We're going to talk about a few other things. Also, I'm trying to get myself situated a little bit here. I tried to make sure I did that before I started filming, but you know. So, in this video, I'm just gonna tell you how we're gonna run it down, and then we'll get right into it. I'll try to keep the rambling to a minimum, but there's no promises on that. You know me. That's just how I am. I am gonna start out immediately by saying that I've already filmed this video once, and I don't know what happened, but I lost all the footage. I went to go upload it onto my computer, and it was just kind of not there. The file was there, but nothing was actually recorded. I don't know how to, it's the weirdest thing, and it's never happened to me before, so I'm going to try to do this again and talk about, I hope I don't leave anything out that I talked about in that video. It wasn't near as long as the part 1, but I'm going to actually start out. You won't see me do it, but I need to roll because I'm having issues with this canvas. And the drills are wanting to pop off. And I've been pretty careful about what I pick. So I'm going to do this row and then decide from there if it's something I can continue or if I can hack my way through it. Because once I get it in a frame and behind glass, then I'm not worried about popping drills because they won't have anywhere to go. I'm wondering if maybe once I cut the border off, it might relieve the pressure of the canvas. So, alright, the way that this video is going to go, I'm going to start out, I'm going to talk to you about this painting, just give you a quick rundown about it, where I got it, what it is, blah, blah, blah. I will also be inserting a picture somewhere on screen for you right there, right now, so that you know, you can kind of see the picture. And we'll be working on this area here, which is the beginning of the shoulder. So this canvas is sideways to the picture. I should have put the picture in sideways. Maybe I will for a split second so you can see what I'm talking about. But this right here is my husband's shoulder, and then this is his head. So I'm going to talk to you a bit about this painting. I want to talk a little bit about the aftermath of the last video and what kind of has happened since, and I am I'm like blinded out right now. So I gotta try to figure out how I can get my view back without having to readjust everything here. That's right, I kind of messed up the order, so I'm gonna come back to this letter because when I was doing it, I got out of my checkerboard pattern and started doing a completely different pattern, so I'm just gonna, I think I'm gonna have to move this. This is just nuts. I'm like completely blinded. I can't see anything. Alright, that's a little better. That's a little better. Maybe once I start getting drills down, it'll readjust a little bit better. So I'll just move into working on what's left of the greenery. So then we'll talk about, like I said, we'll talk about the aftermath, and then we're going to talk a little bit about some addiction stuff, just very generically, some mental health stuff, some domestic abuse, them kind of topics. So If you have little ones around, either I would suggest wearing headphones or maybe not having them around, just as kind of a precautionary warning. They're not really for sensitive ears, I guess. And if these topics also are triggering in any way, you might want to skip this one. But hopefully I will be able to talk about it in a way that is more generic, and I'm not going to like give you like gory details. Some of the mental health stuff might get more into like bigger topics and stuff, but we'll just see. Just like I said, I've done this once, so I'm a little thrown off as to where to start and kind of where to go with this video. So we'll see. We'll see. It should be fine, but again, you never know. In the aftermath, when we start talking about that, I want to talk about some of the comments, some emails that I had gotten, kind of some of the responses and all of that stuff. And yeah, then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the video. So since I rambled that really awkwardly, we're going to talk about the aftermath of part 1 and kind of what has happened since then. Well, at least what I can tell you. And we're gonna get into no, I lied. Again, jeez, come on, Brandy. You can do better than this. First, we're gonna start out talking about this painting. Then we'll get into the aftermath and addressing some comments and emails. Nothing bad. It was overwhelmingly positive. Like, shockingly so. And then we'll get into the meat and potatoes of the video. So, yeah, that's where we're at. And if I don't just dive right into it, then I will sit here and circle round and round what it is that I'm trying to say. Again, I'm trying to collect my thoughts a little bit. I'm still dumbfounded as to what happened. Not only did I lose that, but I lost a video that I called my Sophie and Toffee resin playdate. I thought it was clever. It was basically me learning how to use resin and doing some resin crafts. So that kind of sucked because I can't recreate that stuff. Obviously, they were subscription boxes and they were the projects from that. So I'm a little bit bummed about that because it was another hour-long video. But that's not why we're here. Stop stalling. I'm trying to mostly get my bearings down before I jump into it so I can make sure that I don't miss anything because it was such a good video. I guess it just wasn't meant to be. Hopefully nothing happens to this one. I guess if you're seeing this video, then everything was successful. So, this painting, I got this. This is my first and only custom. I haven't gotten another one since. I don't know why. I just guess I haven't gotten around to it. I have so many paintings that it's not really a priority, I guess, to get customized paintings. I've had this one sitting in my stash for, well over a year, I'd have to say at this point. And I probably should have started working on it prior to this video because I'm having a lot of issues with it. I had to take the washi tape off to relieve some of the pressure. And yeah, we'll see. I'm thinking if worse comes to worse, I might just reach out to Huacan, see if they'll reprint it. I won't ask for new beads or anything because these ones are, for the most part, fine. None of them seem like they've been the cause, I guess. It's literally the canvas that is kind of like, you can see it a little bit. Maybe right here you can see that, how it's kind of a valley. I think that might be the cause of it, but so this is from Huacan. It's a 60 by 80, and it was my second choice of picture. The first one, it was a black and white with like anything that was blue in the picture was highlighted as blue, but the rest was black and white. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. I love those kind of pictures. Typically you see them done where the red is the color that was pulled out. So I think that's why I liked that one so much. And it was just this beautiful picture of my husband dipping me like as if we were in a dance or something. So I really liked that one. It's my favorite wedding picture, but they weren't able to do it. They said it would be too blurry, I guess. So she asked if I had one that was more colorful, and I got this one. And I did get a bunch of suggestions at the time when I ordered this from people of different places to go where I could actually get the custom of the picture I want. So if this really doesn't work out and if it ends up being a waste of time and money, then I might just go that route and go with a company that I know provides really good quality. So we'll see. We'll see. I did order this when Huacan was having a lot of their issues. So now let's get into a little bit of the aftermath from part 1. In that video, I did say that the event, the channels, and the company that I spoke about, that one went flying. I wasn't going to talk about again after that video. Well, since this is more or less part 2, it's the same video in my opinion. In a roundabout kind of way, I guess. I will kind of just bring it up for the sake of talking about the aftermath. So I do have a couple of maybe not so positive things that I want to just get out of the way right away. And the first thing is I got only one comment that just got under my skin. And this is just going to be kind of a broad statement, is that somebody left a comment, timestamping my video, saying, I guess it was around 18 or 19 minutes or something when I actually started talking about the story. But the stuff that I said before it, in my opinion, maybe you guys will disagree, was just as important. It was kind of giving you a little bit of backstory as to this painting, to why I wanted to talk about the story talk about what I talked about in that video in particular, why I brought it up. And there was a lot of disclaimers that I felt were very important. So I'm going to say it right now. I find it to be absolutely rude to go into any YouTube video, any creator's video, and timestamp it and basically tell the audience where they think they should start watching it. It is not your video to decide that on. If somebody else doesn't want to watch all that stuff, it is just as easy for them to skip through it on their own. Do not timestamp my videos for me unless there's been some circumstances where I've timestamped my own videos because they were different topics that I felt it wouldn't make a difference if you jumped around in the video, especially if I'm doing longer videos and maybe I'm doing quite a few different topics. That is one time. Or if somebody were to ask me, say, hey, there's a lot of different topics, and I, in particular, only watched this topic and this topic, but I didn't really watch this one. Do you mind if I maybe put some timestamps in to help other people who might just want to watch those bits and pieces too? Now, that's a different circumstance. That last video, it was not there to be... It was me telling my story, and nobody has the right to go in and tell people that the stuff that I said in the beginning, yes, I'm rambly, but if you've been with me for any significant amount of time, then that's not going to be a surprise. And I don't feel like anyone has the right to go in and tell other people that what I have to say is not important because they feel like it wasn't important. That's not for one person to decide. So if I see those comments, I delete them. So if you've left a comment like that and you notice that your comment's not there, that's why. Especially because the particular person that commented it, I've never interacted with ever. in comments or anything like that. So I felt like it was even more rude that you don't interact with me, but yet you're going to go tell my audience what to watch. That to me is just, no, not okay. Don't do it. I will delete your comments. No questions asked. I don't care what else is in the comments. If I see that, it's gone. And it's different if you're pointing something out also. Like if you're saying, oh, at this time, this happens. And you're trying to point out a specific thing, that's different. But time stamping it and telling people to go start watching at that point is not okay with me. It's not acceptable. Along the same lines of comments that I will delete without question, because this is something that got brought up in my comments, and then we'll get to the good, happy stuff, I promise, is numerous stories and comments about how people have been bullied and mistreated in this community for having an opinion of all things. I mean, come on, how boring of a world is it if we can't all have our own opinions? Like, that's not the kind of world I want to live in. I like hearing people's opinions and thoughts on different things, even if they're different from my own, especially if they're different from my own. You know, if it can be done in an adult way where we're not putting each other down because we have a difference of opinion, I am 100% all for it. So if I see any comments invalidating anybody else's feelings, opinions, thoughts, in a way that it's not for anyone else to determine but me, but if I deem that it's not appropriate, that I feel like it's belittling or bullying, the comments will be gone and you will be blocked from ever being able to comment on my channel again. Because that's not the kind of community I am trying to foster here. And I am not okay with it. I may have trouble sticking up for myself and not demanding for myself what I know I deserve. But when it comes to other people, you better believe that I am like a mama bear when it comes to that. I'm protective of the people that I love most. My audience, my viewers, my subs, my children, my family, all that kind. I will fight to the death for that kind of stuff, but I will not do it for myself, I guess. So it's just kind of a little forewarning. All right, so now I want to tell you kind of a little mini story about my comment section, because I feel really bad that I wasn't able to personally comment on everybody's comments. I wasn't able to reply, and here's why. So it took a long time to upload the video as it was. It was a 2-hour and 10-minute video, as you guys are well aware, and that takes a significant amount of time to upload. Not only that, but once I edit the video, I still got to render it, and that took 2.5 hours on top of the 2 hours of the video, and then YouTube took about 3 hours to upload it onto the platform. So by the time that was all said and done, it was very late, so I just kind of posted the video and went to bed. Anxiously, mind you. But when I woke up the next morning, I had, say, 12 or 13 comments, and they weren't just like one-liners. I mean, I got a few one-liners, but for the most part, these comments were very personal, very, like, thoughtful and caring and beautiful. And I was overwhelmed by the amount of love and positivity and support that I got. And I knew that I was about to run to the store that morning. So now when in my new house, I don't live very close to a grocery store or a convenience store for that matter. It's a little bit of a drive. So we had been planning to go to the store that morning. So I left a little pinned comment, which I need to actually go delete now because it's kind of irrelevant. And I had said that I was reading the comments and that I would respond to each and every one when I got back. Well, let me tell you, by the time I got back, the comment section had completely blown up, and it has continued to blow up. But just so you guys know, I have read each and every comment, and I tried to put a heart there so you guys knew that I had read the comments. And on top of my comments, I was getting emails and YouTube YouTube messages and Facebook messages. And it was just so crazy how much support I was getting. And not only just for the stuff in the first hour with those other channels in that the company and the event, which, by the way, thank you guys so much for respecting me and asking people not to name anything by name or anything like that. I mean, it kind of helps that I did have it blocked. Those words were in the blocked. So even if you did comment with any of that, the channel names, the names of the creators themselves, or the company name, it was blocked. So you wouldn't have been able to anyway. But, and there was, even to the second half of the video, when I did talk a little bit about the fact that I was in recovery and my mental health stuff, people opened up like crazy to me, and it was just so heartwarming to get that kind of response, to know that I have your guys' support no matter what it is that I decide to talk about. And you guys will never know how much that meant to me. It 100% renewed my faith in myself, in my channel. It gave me the drive and the motivation to want to move past it. And that's exactly why I told that story, is I just wanted to wash my hands of it. But I knew it was one of those things that I needed to kind of say it out loud, and say it out loud to the people that it really affected, and to the people that it mattered to. And the one thing that I didn't do in that video was take responsibility for my part in the failure of that event. I kind of more or less put the blame on everybody else. And I did admit that I could have done more, but I never actually apologized. The winners were announced, but I once I got confirmation from the person that won my category and they got their prize, I put the video on private because I figured it didn't matter. And I just kind of wanted to be done with it too. So it is there for anybody that wants to watch it. I'm getting this really bad shadow cast over. So it is up on my channel. It's just been privated for all the reasons of those stories. And for what I've just said. So, yes, I want to thank each and every one of you for the genuine, heartfelt comments that you guys took the time to leave. Like I said, most of them were not like one-line comments that you typically see in YouTube videos. They were long and thought-out comments, and some of them were a few paragraphs long. And just so you know, I love comments like that. So don't ever feel like you need to apologize for leaving me a long comment, because I love it. I love reading what you guys have to say. And there was nothing negative that came in my comment section other than the one thing I already mentioned about the timestamp thing. It was just amazing, which is why it makes me so sad to hear that there's been so much bullying and that there's almost like cliques forming on YouTube. And I'm actually hopefully doing a collab with another creator that that's gonna be kind of what we're gonna dedicate our collab to, is stopping bullying on YouTube, because specifically in the diamond painting community, because it is an older community on YouTube. You know, most of them are, from my demographics, are 40 plus. So considering that most of my audience is 40 plus, that's what really shocks me even more. It's like, it is time to grow up. If we cannot treat each other with respect, what hope do we have for this world? Like, seriously, as corny and cheesy as that might sound, like, stop it. Everybody deserves to be heard. Everybody's opinion is important. Everybody's comment is important. There is no such thing as a stupid question. And I know my hand's in the way. I can't see what I'm doing. So I'm trying to like block the light so that I can at least see where to properly place it. I won't do that the whole time. Once I get some more laid down, I'll be able to see a little bit better. But for right now, I kind of need to do this. So just forgive me. Hopefully, I say it in all the drill with me's, but these are not technique videos. Really, nobody watches these to watch them. They're really just somebody working alongside you while you're diamond painting is the way I like to watch these videos. So, I don't want to get too much into the super crazy stuff. Like, a couple things did come up. I had somebody, and I don't want to get too involved, but somebody did reach out to me from the whole event, and it was more or less a manipulation tactic trying to make me feel bad, I guess. Like they didn't do anything wrong. It wasn't even like an apology. It was just trying to take advantage of my kindness and manipulate the situation into me seeing it wrong. You know, I was very clear about that, which is why those disclaimers were so important, is that it was my truth, my story, my side. It may be different from their side, their story. They may have seen it very differently, and that's fine and dandy, but that's why I was very clear about the fact that this was just my story, and yeah, so it wasn't meant to be like to try to tell the whole thing from every perspective, because that's insane. Of course I don't know it from what was going on in their heads. So now that we got a lot of that out of the way, it's kind of a blessing in disguise, I guess, about the fact that the video didn't turn out at all. Because then I can kind of refine what I talked about. Because I kind of felt at points where I was like, ooh, you shouldn't have said that. Ooh, you don't edit these videos. Oh, you're going to have to edit this video now. Because there are some things that I felt maybe weren't appropriate to talk about in this fashion. I don't know, I could be wrong. I'm overcritical of myself and my channel and my videos because they're my babies, they're my creations. So, of course, I'm going to be over analytical and overcritical of them. You guys probably would have saw nothing wrong with what I was saying. But, I kind of glossed over. I talked a lot about my home life, and I talked a lot about the things that happened, but I didn't tell you exactly why I reacted the way I did and why I shut down. And it's actually quite simple. It's not super detailed. It's not like a huge big thing, which is probably good because then I can talk to you guys about some other stuff too. Not just getting in and being super personal. Because that was like one thing too that I got a lot of comments on, was people telling me how brave I was for speaking about the topics that I spoke about with addiction and my mental health. But honestly, it's not something I'm not ashamed of it. It's just something I don't feel like I should have to defend. You know, if somebody doesn't agree with something I talk about, maybe in regards to treatment or in regards to medications and stuff like that. It's just not something that I want to have to defend. It's honestly, it's something that's, when it comes to that kind of stuff, that's stuff that is between me and my doctor and my mental health care and my recovery care team, I guess, if you want to say team. You know, it really does take a village. And you are responsible for doing the work yourself, but it really does it's a team effort. You have to have so much support to get through a lot of the stuff that I have been through in life. And it started very young. So I mentioned that I have a tendency to shut down, and I'm not good with confrontation. I'm not good with like in your face aggression, that kind of stuff. And there's a very clear pattern in my life as to why. Well, for one, like I said, I'm nice to a fault. I'm easily taken advantage of. But I wouldn't change who I am because of a few crappy people that prey on people like me. I'd much rather take the hit a few times over and over, which may make me stupid, it may make me crazy, but I'm okay with that. And sometimes, yeah, it affects me more than it would affect a normal human being, like my husband, for example, who doesn't suffer from mental health stuff. A lot of the stuff that I've been through, he would be easy to just brush it off and, you know, never look back on it. Whereas I have a tendency to dwell on things, and I am forever like, after a tough or heated situation, I'm always like, oh, I should have said this. I should have done that. And then I get really hard on myself for not saying and doing the things that I know I should have said in the moment. But it's something I'm actively working on. And part of me trying to work on that and get past that was me telling you all the stuff I told you in that last video. You know, that's a huge step for me. Opening myself up to possible I was trying to say quite a few words at once there. Opening myself up to criticism and judgment, and being ready to accept whatever it is that people were going to say about it. You know, if it would have got really bad, I would have just shut down the comments or even put the video on private. And I'm really glad it didn't come to that, because, man, I could go on and on about what the video, like what the comments and the emails and the messages did for me. I mean, words will never truly be able to express how grateful I am to all of you for everything, for your support, for standing by me, for listening to me and understanding my situation, for watching my videos, even though I ramble and I get off topic very easily. And maybe sometimes I say things that aren't incredibly popular opinions, but you're there and you're with me, and I will never be able to thank you enough. There will never really truly be the right words. See, and I'm already getting off track, and I just lost 2 more beads to the floor monster. And I'm never going to find him on this dirty basement floor. Because I'm telling you, I can sweep this floor 1,000,000 times, and I still get a significant amount of dirt. Anyhow, so I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the major things that have happened in my life that's kind of led to my mental health condition. And it did start at a very young age. There was a lot of drug abuse in my family, alcoholism in my family. I have a big family too, so that doesn't help that there's so many of us that suffer from so many different things. And it really does run the gamut of different addictions and different mental health issues and diseases and stuff. So, I mean, you name it, somebody in my family probably has it. And so when I was about 13 or 14 is when I really, the time of puberty is really the time when my mental health issues kind of started coming to light. And I say kind of because I just bumped the camera with my head, so sorry. Because as I got older, it was different things that were more prominent issues, I guess is the best way to say it. More prominent symptoms or issues or the different aspect, just depending on how old I was and what I went through. So at 14 is when things kind of started happening. It was when my group of friends went from just a couple of girls hanging out. Now, I guess another part that might be relevant to the story is that I lived in a house, like a 4-bedroom house on the outskirts of the projects. Now, the projects in my city aren't like in big cities where, I mean, it's low income, but it's not like, that's not where all the crime is. I almost felt safer in that neighborhood than I felt in any other neighborhood that I've lived in since. It was like, I don't know, the people there knew that I didn't have anything to give them, so they didn't like mess with me. We looked out for each other, because when you have very little, you're protective of the little bit that you do have. And other people are just as protective of it for you. And my neighborhood was full of a lot of very big families. like 6 or more children. And so more, I guess, for my generation, it was more aunts and uncles. Like, if you met a friend in my neighborhood, the chances are that that friend has at least 5 or 6 aunts and uncles that are all ride or die. So, but like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of like crime or anything like that that I was really contending with that contributed to my mental health. There was crime in my family, but not not me directly. I was always like more afraid of my parents than I was to get caught by the cops or anything. Like, I was not about to get in trouble and go home and have to tell my mom what just happened. So, they were strict, but not so much so that I couldn't have a life, I guess. But anyway, so my group of girlfriends went from, there was like 4 of us, and then all of a sudden, one by one, they all started liking boys and getting into boyfriends. And I was incredibly shy. And it took me a long time to get used to the friend group that I was hanging out with, let alone bringing boys into the mix at the height of, when girls are just starting to go into their changes, boys are just starting to go into their changes. So there's all that kind of stuff going around. And I started feeling like, and when I say this is absolutely ridiculous, it was absolutely ridiculous. It took me to be, after my 3rd pregnancy and having a hysterectomy, to be able to gain any significant weight. Up until then, I always teetered between like 95 and 110 pounds. So I was very skinny. But at that time, I had a little bit of like, I guess, dysphoria of some sort. And I honestly thought I was fat. And I started starving myself. And then when my friends and family caught on to that, then I became bulimic. And shortly after that was one of the first times that I ended up actually getting put into an inpatient treatment for mental health issues. The second time was more of a suicidal attempt. I don't know if it was actually that's what I, in my heart of hearts, wanted, or if it was for attention. I mean, at that age, I have to assume it was for attention, because we did not have the kind of hardships that kids have to contend with to this day with the relentless cyberbullying and stuff like that. I mean, I was never really bullied anyway. A little bit of teasing here and there, but it was nothing ever significant. But bringing boys into the mix, it just messed with my head. And I felt my friends were all really pretty, and I was the ugly duckling, and it really messed with me and my psyche. And that's kind of like the first signs of it. And then later on, I think, like I said, I was 14, I think, when that first, 13 or 14, when that happened. And before that, my grandma and I were like super duper close. Like, she practically raised me for a good part of my life. And she had died when I was 12. So that kind of was a big start of the mental health issues for me too. Was not quite coming out of that. It's normal to get sad after somebody you love passes away, but it's not normal to not be able to move through the grief process. And that's kind of what I was dealing with. And I wasn't able to move past it the way that, I mean, there's no like real guideline as to how long it should take, but I felt like it took me years, honestly, to get past that. And for the most part, to this day, even if I talk about it, I still get super choked up. So I only talk about it very generically, which is sad because, like I said, this woman practically raised me, and to this day, I still have a hard time like speaking about her. But that's because she had such an amazing and positive impact into my life. But then, fast forward to around 16, I was 15 when I attempted suicide and was put into treatment for the second time. And of course, I'm there long term. So all of this starts having an effect on my psyche. It's kind of that FOMO, fear of missing out. And like, we just developed this new friend group, and I wasn't getting to know them in the same way that all the rest of my friends were. And so it is very adolescent stuff, but it also kind of paints a picture as to how my life is now. And a lot of them things aren't all that much different for me. I still have a hard time making new friends. I still feel a little bit of an outcast in a new friend group. And even though I tend to be like the social director of any friend group I'm a part of, I still have that little bit of awkwardness. But I think I adapted the like cruise director, event planner. I think I adopted all that to make it more comfortable for myself in these situations with new people. As my way of, I guess, ultimately being able to talk to people in a more casual way and get to know them a little bit. So I keep bumping. I just bumped the camera again. I'm really sorry. I probably have done that a million times. If you happen to look up and see the camera shaking, it's because I keep bumping my head on it. So stupid. I need my tripod, a better tripod to get here. I'm waiting on a longer one that doesn't attach to my table. Anyway, so then when 16, I was in my first long-term relationship, and it ended up being a pretty significant one for so many reasons. We were together for about a year. He was a big troublemaker. He was in and out of like juvie and foster homes and stuff. I guess I had a type when I was younger. I like the bad boys. I don't know. But so he was just in and out of juvie, which, again, played perfectly into my depression. But then, I don't know, after about a year of us being together, all of a sudden it turned violent, and he got very abusive to me. And I kept it a secret for a very long time, like probably a good year. And we were together close to 3 years, about 2.5 years, a little over, when a lot of people kind of started figuring it out and noticing things that just weren't normal. So, I mean, anybody who's ever been in an abusive relationship, I mean, I don't even need to explain to you what that does to somebody. If you've never been in one, it's so easy to, like, sit back and say, oh, well, you should have done this. You should have left him. You should have called the cops sooner. It's so easy to say that when you're on the sidelines. And I get it, because even as a former abuse victim, I sometimes still say it. I'll catch myself, just that quick judgment. Like, what is wrong? Why won't she leave? Why does she put up with that? And it's easy to kind of forget that I was once in that situation too, and it wasn't so easy for me to leave, because you really do have feelings. And for the most part, after being 16 and being with this guy for, at that time is like a lifetime for kids, 2 years, 2.5 years, it's just, I don't know. It feels like the feelings are very real, I guess. Even though, looking back now, I couldn't really say, yes, I did love him. Oops, I put that in the wrong spot. That's an E. I maybe felt it very strongly then, but I definitely don't feel that way now. I don't really have any feelings for this guy at all in any shape, because I won't allow him to rent space in my head anymore. It took me years to get over that abuse, even after we left. And my oldest son is actually, I got pregnant with him when I was 17, and it was by this guy who was not a part of either of our lives. And my husband has more or less adopted him, and he has become Gavin's dad for all intents and purposes. And that's not by that was not a decision we made. That was a decision my son made So I've never been one to push that onto him. I've never been one to be like, oh, I'm in a new relationship, so now you gotta call him dad. That's just not me. I mean, if that's the way your family works, that's so personal. It's such a personal choice, and that's totally up to you. You know, the way, however anybody wants to run their family is, there's no judgments from me on that whatsoever. Um, that's just not the way that I wanted to raise my kids. You know, for a while after I got out of this abusive relationship, we did try to maintain some sort of a friendship for the sake of our son. But it wasn't meant to be. He just was a terrible person through and through, and I've never really felt the need to want to be his friend afterwards, I guess. It's just kind of better this way for all involved. It took a lot for me to get over that, and eventually I did end up calling the cops. I think when it came to, it was one thing for him to, like I said, he went after me, but it was another thing when he tried to take my son as an infant child. I, it was just a terrible situation. He like had inserted him. Me and my son were in the car, and he inserted himself into the car. My ex. Oop, that one went flying. And he like tried to take my son out with the car seat. I don't know. It's hard to explain without going into a ton of detail. But he more or less he tried to take him from me while I was in a car about to drive away. And once I got away from the situation safely, I drove right to the police station, and that ended our relationship. And it took a lot for me to get to that point, to see that side of it. So, yes. So that obviously was a big thing. And that's a big reason why I have so much trouble with confrontation and stuff, because it led to some really bad times in my life. And it just, or me sticking up for myself and being confrontational and, oops, did it again, demanding respect for myself just angered him more and more, and gave him the excuse he needed to do what he did to me. A lot of the addiction stuff, it's always been like, I always was like a party girl, I guess. I always like to have fun, but I never really cross the line. At least not when I was younger. I always knew my limits. I never really liked feeling too out of control. But as I got older and as it got harder and harder to deal with a lot of things, drugs quickly became an escape. And once I latched onto it, I just went full in on it. And it led to some even darker times, and, going through addiction and the things that you do as an addict, and not, you're such a different person. And I was, I don't even recognize that person to this day. I try to remember her so that I don't ever go back down that road. But it's not easy. And I really did put my family through a lot. It's just lucky that I have such an amazing husband now who stood by me through all of that and really uplifted me. I always really thought of myself as a strong-willed person after I got out of that really bad relationship. It took a while, because after that I jumped right into another really bad relationship that wasn't physically abusive, but it was very manipulative and very verbally abusive. And between the two of them, I am so good at now seeing manipulative behavior and, recognizing it for what it is. And my husband is nothing like that. sometimes I talk him up quite a bit. And it's for good reason, because he deserves it. He's never treated me terribly ever. He's always treated me with the utmost respect and kindness, and he likes to remind me all the time of the kind of person he thinks I am. Like, he sees the good in me that I sometimes struggle to find. It's there, and sometimes I can find it, but for those times when I forget and my mind starts going down that dark path, he quickly pulls me out of it. I think there's that song even that I don't even remember who sings it. It's like, I think it's literally called You Saved Me. It's a country song. Or You Save Me or something. God, it's gonna drive me nuts now, but if you know what I'm talking about, if you know the song, if you listen to country, you probably already know what song I'm talking about. But that song just reminds me of him. So when I start getting a little bit out there and a little bit down into the darkness, into the depths of the hell that is my mind at times, he knows how to pull me back. And he really is, he deserves a medal for the things that he has put up with me. And so I really am proud of my accomplishments. It's just like I said in that last video, it's just not something that I talk about a lot because I don't want to have to defend it. I have no problems defending it to a point, but there's those situations where it's just mindless and it's not worth it. Sometimes it's just not worth putting up a fuss. It's just sometimes easier to let people be stupid and have their opinions. Not everybody is stupid, but there are some. Some people, you're entitled. If you've been a child of an addict, you certainly are going to have different feelings than me on the situation, and you're entitled to those. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, like I said, whether I agree with them or not. I'm going to grab a new color. Oh. All right, mind fart while I had to do that. I need to take a drink. I'm getting awful dry mouth now from just talking nonsense for 51 minutes. So there was probably a point in there where that cut out. But let me take a quick sip. Delicious. Mountain Dew. Good for the soul. So let's see. I'm trying to work mostly in this corner because I can see it better. But, I think really for now, that's really all I'm, going to dive into. Those are, the main events. There's another thing that I was involved in which I was, really young, and it's a long story. So if you ever want to hear the story of when I was kidnapped, you just let me know. I mean, it's a good story, but it's a long one, and it may get emotional. So if you ever want to hear about that story, you'll have to let me know down in the comments. It's a good story for the sake of storytelling. I mean, it's not a good story for the simple fact that this was my life. Where is my ex? I'm looking for exes right now. Did I not? I mean, for crying out loud, this little section has 40 colors in it. But that was another thing that really, oh, here it is, messed with my psyche and really shaped the person that I am. I'm just going to move a few of these around, make some space for the new colors to come in. Because I'm just putting them since I have the space in my craft area. If you saw that video, you'll get it. I have some space in my crafting area. So I just, for the section I'm working on, I just pour the colors I need into separate trays because I have a stack. So I just pour out the color I need and I set it off to the side until I need it again. And so far I haven't really had to worry about it, knock on wood. My cat hasn't messed with it too much, so I've been able to get away with leaving open trays out and then coming back to them. It makes diamond painting so much faster. Instead of working with one color, sometimes I'd work with a few at a time, but even so, just working with a couple colors and then having to put them away when I'm done, that just, it was a time suck. So, I forgot to pull the garbage out. These light colors, I've noticed, tend to have a lot of garbage. So, as you can see, there's a lot of things that contribute to what ultimately caused me to take a step back and walk away. And that's why I say I don't blame these guys. I mean, yeah, it really sucked what happened. But had I been in a better place mentally, a little bit stronger mentally, then maybe I would have had enough to just stick up for myself and say enough is enough. You know, I deserve more, or I deserve better, what have you. But it's like I said, when it gets to confrontation, I don't deal well with it. I don't stick up for myself in the way that I should. It's something I am working on. I am in, like I mentioned in that last video, I'm in DBT therapy, and that does help me a lot to change the way that I think. You know, and turning negative thoughts, especially about myself, into more positive thoughts. I keep reaching across. I'm so sorry. Forgive me. And it's a work in progress. You know, I'm a work in progress. We're all works in progresses. You know, we're never done growing and learning and changing and evolving. And I absolutely just love that. You know, I love that I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago. You know, you're always changing, and hopefully for the better. And I'm always changing, and I am getting better at standing up for myself. A year ago, I think it was more, everything was so new to me. I didn't want to rock the boat. I didn't want to negatively affect my channel. If I would have brought some of this stuff up, I would have been like really stirring the pot. And back then, if I would have told you guys this stuff a year ago, specifically with the stuff I talked about in the first part of that video, I probably would have told you each and every one of their names and called them out by name in the video. And that's not the point anymore. The point is now what I do with what happened and how I change and evolve and grow from that. And I feel like I have. You know, I mentioned all those reasons and all the things that it had forced me to change in the way that I do things, and, you know, in working with people and trusting people, and how I work with companies. And it was a big learning thing, and it hopefully answered some questions for you guys. A few things that I had found out afterwards from people that were either involved with the event or involved with, you know, well, I guess just involved with the event. You know, or people that watched my videos had no idea about the event, didn't participate, and just noticed I disappeared. It did answer a lot of questions for a lot of people. And, you know, if there's anything that you want to know more of, I am more than happy to talk more candidly in an email. I learned my lesson from publicly outing people, and when I almost got sued by Untitled Artisan for giving them a bad review. Yeah, I was too small of a channel at that time to know that he was full of crap and that he really had no grounds to sue me. But I was a young tuber, and my channel, obviously, it means everything to me, and I didn't want to risk anything happening to it. So, and that's kind of what happened with that situation too, is I just didn't want to risk it. You know, it was like, I mean, the parts of it I should have stood up for everybody who participated in the event, because I found some stuff out afterwards that just pisses me off for the lack of better words, because being pissed off is the best word. You know, actually, when I was in summer school one year, my teacher told our whole class that being pissed off, that's not a swear word. I don't know. That's probably just her opinion, because I don't consider it not a swear word, but yeah, she said it was not a swear word, but you know, and I should have done more for you guys and spoke up more for everybody involved in that event, I guess, instead of just making it all about the way I was treated, because it wasn't, the things that happened during that event was not fair to the people involved that were actual participants in the whole event itself. So, you know, a lot of people were pretty wronged in that situation. Oh, I don't know if you can hear that. Drills just popping back in as I roll over them. I occasionally have to come back and do that. The width of this strip, it's what they had pre-cut it into, and there's 5 more just like it. And I broke each one of these into quarters. So once I'm done with this full bottom strip, I'll kind of determine from there if it's going to be worth continuing on with this, or if I'm going to be better off stopping where I'm at and getting a new one. I really should have tested this then a year ago. I should have at least tried to put a few drills down so that I would know. And I kind of knew it wasn't going to be any good once I put the washi tape around it, because it started buckling right away. I don't even think that ironing it will necessarily do anything good for it. Sometimes you can kind of stretch your canvas that way. I actually thought about like putting it on some kind of like pulley system, because if I stretch my canvas, like if I pull it from the sides, it does flatten out, and then all the drills lay completely flat. But so I thought about trying to devise some kind of system that will hold them flat, but it's like, well, it's not really going to matter once I let go. Then it's just going to go back to being all wrinkly. And part of me thought about just cutting all this border off and relieving the pressure that way, but I don't know. I don't really know what to do about this. So I'm hoping that it's just this bottom corner, and if that's the case, then I'll just push through and keep working on it, because I like the picture. Even if it wasn't my first choice, I still like it a lot. You know, it's a good picture. They did a beautiful job on it. It's just not a good canvas. And it was during, I think I've said it a couple times now, but it was during, like, when they started having all their problems, and that's when I had got this. So a lot of it probably has to do with all of the things that they were going through as a company at the time. I don't even know. I haven't ordered anything from them. I haven't really ordered anything from AliExpress too recently. I think it's been since maybe, oh geez, I think I got my final one in September, I want to say. September, no, November is when I got my last few orders in from AliExpress. And I haven't ordered from them since, because I have so many paintings, I don't even know what to do with all of them at this point. It's just overkill to the extreme. I guess I'm going to have to bust out the 3371. I really don't like bringing the dark colors out until I have to, but it's looking like I can't avoid it. I need to fill in some bigger gaps, which is the other reason I like having all of these colors out, because if I just miss one or two, it's so easy to just go back and fill them in. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want to make sure that we talk about in relationship. I mean, I don't know if I even told you anything that really answered any more questions as far as a part two that deems it worthy of being named part two. Yeah, I really don't know if it added any context to anything, but I kind of felt like I unintentionally skipped over stuff in part one. Mostly because after, I didn't think it would take me that long to tell the dang stories. But I should have known. It's me after all. I do ramble and babble and whatever every other word that you have for it. Insert it here. But I do that. And so I should have known. But by the end of it, I was just so, like, mind numb, I guess is the best possible word that I could say, that I kind of just didn't know what else to add to it. Because it wasn't just, I mean, those were big triggering events, but it was my mental health that ultimately caused me to react the way I did. And I mean, I did touch on it, and like I said, I don't think I added too much to the conversation as far as this video goes, but I wanted to kind of talk about the aftermath of that video and stuff anyway. And then, for some reason, when I was editing that video, I was like, oh, I didn't talk about this, or this. So I got to do a part two. And then I didn't write any of that stuff down. So it really came down to, I had a bunch of stuff that I wish I would have added, but obviously it wasn't too important, or I would have remembered to write it down. Because I have a terrible memory, and my mind tends to wander. Like, I'll say something, and then I'll just go silent for a few seconds. Like, my videos are the absolute worst to edit for that reason. But I'll just go silent, and it's because I say something, and then I start trailing off, silently, of course, in my head, thinking about, well, what it was that I said. And then I'll sometimes even start overanalyzing it. I'm like a healthy train wreck. Oh, yeah, there's really no such thing as a healthy train wreck, which is why I used that term. Oh, I'm still just so bummed about the first version of this video. I think I'm more bummed about the resin video because I do Sophie and Toffee. Like, I just started experimenting with resin crafts. And, I've been getting the subscription box, but I don't do the projects. Because who wants to learn from somebody who doesn't know what they're doing? It's different if it's like a craft and chat type of video. But it's not. It's just watching me fail over and over again. Which can be important in itself, too. But if I'm failing, I like to at least succeed at some point, and then come back and tell you how I succeeded, what it was that I did differently to be able to exceed the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth time around. However many tries it takes for me to get it right. And I'm usually, like, and this is not me bragging, this is just how it is for me. I'm usually, like, pretty good at anything that I do because of my OCD and the fact that I'm a completionist. I'm usually, if I pick up a new hobby like cross stitch, for example, I'm usually pretty good at it. There might be a lot of stuff I don't know, but when it comes to the actual, like, technique and stuff, I pick up on it pretty quickly. And I'm just not when it comes to working with UV resin. I should clarify, UV resin, and doing small intricate things. Working with resin on a bigger scale, like epoxy resin, I'm not too bad with that. I can actually make something look good, but I'm not that great with resin. I don't know enough yet. But I feel like I should be 100% perfect and excellent and, be able to just flip on the camera and know 100% what I'm doing. That's just so unrealistic. And I know it, which makes it even more ridiculous. And then it makes me feel even worse that I'm being an overachiever and thinking that I need to be the greatest at everything all the time. Because like I said, if it's a craft and chat, that's one thing. I do not mind failing if I'm just chatting, but the style of video I was trying to do was a tutorial style. And I just kept failing over and over and over. I mean, to the point that I wasted 2 bottles of resin. So 50 grams of UV resin, which I don't know if that's an easy thing to do, if it's typical to go through that amount of resin, but I did. Well, to be fair, one of the bottles spilled, so I lost a bunch of it to that. So probably half a bottle. But I probably used a bottle and a half just trying to figure it out and not succeeding. So I was so hard on myself, and the video was the Sophie and Toffee one. It wasn't even complete. I was going to go in and add a few more things to it. Like, it was 3 projects I was working on, and I was going to go in and add the second 2 projects and show my failures of the first project. But, so now I don't even really know what to do, because like I said, the projects are all done. Like, I know, okay, I didn't explain that very well. Start over. So, the part of the video that got corrupted, I should say, is the first part. The other 2 projects that I did were smaller projects from each of the boxes. And I didn't fail at those because they're simple. They're working with bezels and stuff that is easier to do for a beginner. It was the stuff that I feel like is probably for people who have already been working with resin for a while. That's the stuff that failed. But the rest of the video doesn't make sense without that first clip. So I don't know. I don't know if that explained it any better, because I made it sound like I hadn't done the other 2 projects. But that's what happens when I just kind of mindlessly ramble. And then I'm like, wait a second, what the heck did you just say? Oh, so dumb. So I did 4 projects all together, and I filmed them each in their own clips so that I could edit them differently, and I could shut off the camera after each one and walk away. And so I hadn't gotten to the second 2 as far as editing, because by the time I got to the first one, it was already corrupted. And God, I wish I could explain things better to explain to you what happened to these videos, because they basically, my phone just deleted them because there wasn't enough space. And it started, so when I got to the resin videos, or to the Drill With Me Part 2, it started overwriting the resin video, the first part of it, in which I kept failing. Which luckily I hadn't even finished that. That's what I guess I was trying to say, is I still had to finish filming the conclusion to the one that I failed miserably at. But all the clips go hand in hand, so without the first one, they're useless. I don't know. That's not making any more sense. It's just stupid. I'm getting tired. I've been talking for an hour and 13 minutes already. I think it's just time to call it a night. And I think that's what we're going to do. I'm going to leave it here. This is probably just the most boring video, because I really didn't get into much of anything. There certainly wasn't any tea to be spilled in this video. So I guess I apologize for that. But, I will be a lot more open and honest and forthcoming with stuff in the future when it comes to stuff like that in the community. I will not be shy about calling people out for this whole stupid bullying thing. I'm not going to put up with it. And we should not accept this in our community. That was the one thing that appealed to me most about this community, is how helpful it was, and how there's just this sense of it that, I don't know, I just wanted to be a part of it. And I would have never joined YouTube, specifically with this diamond painting in the community the way that it is now. So it needs to stop. So you need to ask yourself if you're being the best version of yourself when you go into the comments to disagree with somebody, or if you're a creator and you go into make a video that just bashes somebody. How does that really make you feel? And how do you think that makes the other people feel? Because if you have dedicated enough followers, they're going to go and attack on your behalf. And that is not cool. We need to grow up, people. Like, me included. I need to grow up a little bit too and grow a spine. But at least I'm not bashing people in my comments and making videos telling people they're stupid. I don't know. I guess I can't really speak much on that with the way my last video was, but I don't feel like I was being bashing, and I went out of my way to make sure that I didn't call anybody out by name. I mean, that was not easy to do that for 2 hours, to keep my head in the game like that. But yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry the videos took forever. I'm sorry I didn't explain the whole resin thing very well. That was just stupid, and I can just hear it in my head. And I may even go back and just cut that whole part out. And if I do that, then you won't even hear anything of what I'm saying. But with that, I'm going to let you go, guys. Thanks for your love, your support, your dedication, your understanding, your acceptance of me, everything. Just thank you for being you. Sincerely, from the bottom of my heart. Have an awesome day. Have fun diamond painting. Have fun crafting. Have fun doing whatever it is that makes you happy. I love you, friends, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.